Hey everyone, welcome to round 9 of the Doeberl Cup 2024 on Rugby Chess. This is the last game of the tournament, and this is a 5-day tournament, so I was pretty tired. Glad it was the last round. Meant I could go home soon, which is good. So this tournament, I'm so far on 4.5 out of 8. It's the final round. Let's see how I go. So my opponent plays knight out. And I play d5. I just played this on instinct. My plan was to play like a Grunfeld defense, which is something like this. And you meant to wait till he goes to c4. The person goes to c4 before you play d5. You actually meant, the way I played it, you meant to wait for the knight to come out. Then I'm meant to play d5. So that when my opponent captures and plays e4, I can take the knight like that. However, I messed up my moves and I played d5 on this move, and then my opponent played c4. And now, if I try to continue with my plan of playing the same opening, because he hasn't developed the knight, he can immediately take, play e4, my knight has to retreat, and then he can play his knight to c3. And this position is worse because my knight's in a silly spot. I'd rather have these two knights traded off, like in the previous example. And he's got a nice strong center, which is hard for me to attack. Later on, if I want to play something like c5 to attack it, when he takes my pawn, it's threatening my knight. So you can see this knight's not in a good position. So realizing that, I was like, I missed up my opening order. What do? I can't play my normal opening. So I hadn't prepared for this specific variation. So I'm trying to remember moves I've seen from a long time ago, which is the Queen's Gambit declined. So this position turned to Queen's Gambit declined, which I don't know very well, but I knew the basics of it, so we'll see. So knight c3, bishop e7, castle, e3. So I knew up to here, I needed to develop the knight to d7, Queen c2, and then here's where I was stuck. I was thinking, what do I play next? I don't want to take the pawn at c4 because he develops his bishop. I know the main theme in this opening is to wait for white to develop the bishop either on e2 or d3, using up a whole move, and then you take on c4, so they have to play a second move with the same bishop to take on c4. You can see my opponents play queen c. That's why they've played queen c2. They're delaying a move. They might play rook c1. They'll keep delaying, hoping I'm going to take this, and they get to take the bishop out in one move. So it's a game of cat and mouse. I decided to play a6, which is not one of the main moves. Actually, computer doesn't really like it. It's giving my opponent half a pawn advantage already, saying that this pawn move doesn't really do much for my position. In hindsight, I probably would have been better playing c6, just to strengthen my center. The reason I played a6 was I was hoping to be sneaky and be able to play c5 in one move at some point. In hindsight, I probably should have played that instead of a6, and the reason would have been to try and open up the center whilst the white king is still not be able to castle, especially because the bishop is also on f1. So he needs 2 moves to castle, and if I immediately attack the center, and the center starts opening up, his king could get caught. So I played a little bit too slow, and my opponent, who knew the opening better than me, knows in this position to take, and then he develops the bishop without wasting a tempo. I played the rook out, castled, and then I played c6 again. Why did I play a6 and then play c6? I'll put it down to it's the last round. I was a bit tired, a bit over it. I should have played c5. c5 would have been much more in the spirit of the a6 move. He would have, possibly taken, giving myself an isolated pawn. But look, the knight comes out, attacking the bishop. Bishop has to move back. This is an example. Knight e4. I get the good e4 square. Attacking the bishop. This bishop can come out to e6, defending the pawn. My rook can come to c8. It's a very easy game. My opponent will have a strong d4 square at some point. We might have to move the bishop first. but he's got a strong d4 point, but I've got a strong e4 point. So it's kind of balances each other out. And this pawn, although it's weak now, it controls some good squares in the center, and it can easily be defended by the bishop, queen, and rook, for example. I have rooks like that. So c6 is just, there's no point playing c6 and a6. My opponent plays rook over there, planning to start pushing the pawn up, as is standard in this opening. So I played h6, bishop f4. Now again, not being familiar with an opening, I fell for a trap. So I decided, oh, I can try and win the bishop here. I decided to play knight to h5, as you can see, question mark, thinking he's got nowhere to move. Anywhere he moves the bishop, for example here, I'm just going to take it. Cool, now I've got two bishops. I can bring my other knight here, and then I can look to bring my bishop either to e6 or g4, and I'm developing my pieces out, and everything should be fine for me. But I missed a tactic. Let's see if you guys can see it. The computer's already showing it. Knight takes d5, which I completely missed. So after he played this move, I was like, blunder. This is my first probably actual tactical blunder of the tournament. So far, haven't lost a pawn or a piece to a tactic. So it's a shame the last round I got to lose a pawn for nothing. Didn't see the tactic. The tactic is if I take the knight, the queen gets trapped, which I kind of did to myself. So it's important to know these sort of tricks in the opening. If I don't take the knight, if I try and move my knight away, for example, he can just take, and he's still won a pawn. So bit of a shame that I fell for such a simple one move, basically a one move tactic. But this chess is what happens. I decided to go and take his bishop. So sometimes you just got to play on. And I decided, well, I have the two bishops against the one bishop, which in my head is roughly a half a pawn advantage. But he's got an extra pawn, and it's a center pawn. It's not a doubled up side pawn or anything. It's actually a strong center pawn. So I thought maybe my two bishops slightly offsets his pawn, but it's definitely not enough. I'm definitely not in a good position. I thought, like, I'm already losing here. The computer gives this one a plus 1.7 to white. So you need to be plus 2 to be winning. So technically I can hang on if I play every move as the best move. I can actually draw, like I have a high chance to draw this. But over the board, being down about losing a pawn, it's a bit hard. So you'll see how I play. So I develop my bishop to a better square. He retreats the knight because I was trying to double his pawns and claim that, yeah, he's a pawn up, but it's a doubled pawn. It's not as worth as much. So I developed my knight out, and he played bishop to f5, wanting to exchange the light squared bishops, thus reducing my double bishop advantage. And plus he's up a pawn, so for him it's good to exchange the pieces off. The more pieces that come off and it goes towards an endgame, the more chance my opponent has of winning. But it says this move was actually inaccuracy, and he's gone from a 1.7 down to a 1. So this was not the best move for my opponent. I played bishop to e6, thinking if he's going to take me, at least I can develop my rook. But what the computer recommends that I should have done to maintain a smaller disadvantage as possible is to take the bishop, play the knight in, and the reason it wants this move is because this cuts the queen's retreat off. You can see the queen, it hasn't got any squares. Oh, it's got the h5 square, but it's literally got 3 squares left. So it wants to cut the queen's defense off, retreat off, and then attack the queen, and then even just play like have this pawn chain here, really restricting the queen. So take. So this is position. The computer says it's only +1 instead of +1.7. So his advantage is still a whole pawn, but it's actually not winning. I've got a really good bishop in the center, attacking on both wings. It can't really be challenged. His queen's offside. Yeah, he has a pawn. Yeah, it's true. That's a permanent advantage. But with his pieces slightly misplaced and my piece is slightly better, for example, I can play the pawn up and try and swap pawns off. The more pawns that come off, the more chance I have of drawing. And I've got, queen can come out to the queen's side attacking the pawn, and his queen's nowhere near able to defend. So I would have had a bit of compensation for being down a pawn. Not enough to be winning, but maybe enough to draw. Anyway, I decided to do this, and he played his knight out. So his plan is to try and push e4 and then e5 with a fork. So queen e7 preventing e4, rook e1, rook e8. So I'm just trying to stop the e4 move. This is all still plus 1.7 because I didn't take advantage of trapping his queen. You can see his queen's a bit more centralized. It's attacking both sides. So yeah, I should have taken the opportunity to put his queen offside. I decided now, look, it's the last round. I'm down a pawn. I don't want to, spend hours and hours defending a position a pawn down. I decided to go for a kingside attack. Let's see what happens. Maybe if I get a good attack, he might panic, and I might be able to win this game, or at least get a perpetual check, which is a draw. So again, this is not recommended. The computer wants me to play moves that just hold the position. So it wants me just to slowly improve, don't do anything, retreat the bishop back, just wait around, let him come to me. And it says that I'm on the edge of losing. I'm 1.7, but I can manage. If I keep going on and on and on for like another 60 or 80 moves, I can probably defend. Not something I wanted to do on the last day. But sometimes you got to play the tournament situation, so I decided, you know what, let's go for a kingside attack and see what happens. And I played knight h7, e4, so I'll let him get his e4 move in, but I went for a flank attack, thinking I've got bishop, queen, knight, and potentially rooks that could come into the attack. I can get 2 rooks in, so I thought, he's got a few pieces on the other side, let's see what happens. Knight d2. Right, now again, this is still plus 1.7, so if I did nothing, I can hold. But I decided, look, next move's coming is e5. Once e5 comes in, say for example I play the recommended computer move, e5 comes in, blocking out these 3 pieces, blocking out the bishop. All my pieces look silly. What is the point of all this? So I thought, nah, this doesn't look good. However, the computer likes this. This is the proper way to play like proper chess. Yeah, I guess you learn, but yeah, I think I can still bring my rook over, for example, my knight up and my queen out first. So I still do have some chances. I've got c5 to counter-attack in his center and try and undermine the pawn. So this position, if I wanted to play a long game, would have been preferable. Instead, I just went for it and played a careless move. Didn't really calculate it properly and thought, you know what, let's just go for it, see what happens. This is my last chance to do an attack before he plays e5. Let's just go for a quick attack and see what happens. So, king takes, check, rook over. So, basic idea of pushing the pawn and going for a check. It's +4 now, so the game's definitely over, and it shows that these sort of sacrifices should really be calculated before they're played. I played knight up, again another tactic, threatening check. So my opponent played, for example, let's play that, played rook over, check. And his king, if his king moves across, I got checkmate. If he takes, I take that with check. King has to move over, and again checkmate. So it's just like a 2-move threat. Doesn't really do much. He plays rook e3, stopping my threat. Now if I go check, he can just move the king, or he can take it with the knight. Sorry, take it with a knight, I take, and then he just takes, and I've got no attack. Everything's defended. The knight's defending the pawn in the center. I can't take that. The rook's everything's defended. So if this pawn were gone, it would have been much better for me. I could have played rook h6, and I would have had a bit more on attack, but he could always play rook h3, so there wasn't much going on. So after rook e3, I decided I'll change tactic. I'll bring the knight back to e6 and hop in on f4, threatening the queen, and then maybe I can take, you'll see anyway. Knight e2, stopping me. Yeah, I was trying to come in and just take stuff. Rook g5, g3, and then I went, my queen's basically trapped. I was planning to bring the rook over next move and go for a checkmate. He saw that and he played g3, getting there in time. So I've only got one move with my queen, and then he played knight to f4, and when I calculated this, somehow I thought if I take his knight, somehow I forgot that his rook's attacking my queen. I was thinking, oh, just go rook h5 and I'm in with a chance. Then I forgot, actually his rook's threatening my queen and his pawn's threatening my rook. So no hope for me now. g3, last chance. If he takes my rook, check and checkmate. But of course my opponent saw that and just played the simple rook takes g3, threatening my queen, threatening my rook. He's up a whole knight. He doesn't need to try and win another piece. He just needs to exchange pieces off. So I played rook g4 just to get out of the attack, and he took my rook with check. I have to take back with the queen, and then he played queen g3. You know, unfortunately for me, my queen and my king are pinned. If my king were on h8, for example, I might have been able to move in with a queen and then threatening to win his queen with a rook move. So it would have given me a few more options. I think it probably still wouldn't have been winning, and still wouldn't have been losing, but I might have been able to at least get some more play. But unfortunately, where my king is, the queens are coming off and he's up a lot of material. He's got 6 pawns versus 5. He's up a pawn and a knight, and this is a pretty easily winning ending. You know, for example, I might be able to win a pawn back by attacking this, but look, even that, he just defends it. Attack that pawn, he just pushes it. This is an easy win for him. So on that note, in the position back here, I decided to resign so I could go home. So I ended up on 4.5 out of 9, which sounds like it's only 50%, but in the field that I was in, I was very impressed with, and it was better than I thought I went. So thanks for watching my last game. I'll let you guys know when I do my next tournament, and if you want me to go over any other games, please let me know in the comments. See you guys next time.